Oh, yes. It's Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. I have dealt with allergy situations, needing to do EpiPens, bringing in EMTs. I have had an attendee's hair catch on fire one time before as well.
Welcome, Jessica Ballard. Thank you so much for coming on the show, talking to us about event management. You're actually one of our instructors for our courses as well, so thank you for representing in that sphere as well. We just want to start with a little bit about you. So who is Jessica?
Yes, well, thank you. So Jessica Ballard, I am a professional in residence here in the School of Business. So I primarily teach in our event management, hospitality management courses. So I am over our event management major and minor programs. So I primarily teach within those, but then I also do some of the business career strategy classes. So I have now been a full-time faculty here since 2018, so going on a few years here. But prior to becoming a full-time faculty for the School of Business, I actually have been here at UVU for even longer. I had been the Senior Director for Executive Events for the Advancement Office, which is essentially doing all of the major events for the university. So the fundraisers, the ribbon cuttings, groundbreakings, major events for the President's Office. So at the time I worked under President Holland, so I would do any of his traveling events as well. So if he was doing any out-of-state events, I did all of the remote work on the ground here in Utah to plan for them, traveled ahead of him, prepped everything, put on the event, and then traveled back with him. So I did quite a bit here for the university for about 7 or 8 years before I was recruited into the event management program to actually teach, which I have loved since then. Some of my other experience, I've worked for the American Red Cross of Utah doing their corporate relations and special events. So I did American Red Cross events for the entire state of Utah in Logan, Ogden, Salt Lake, Provo, and St. George. So I always tell people I put a lot of miles on my car. I also have experience in the performing arts as well. That's really where I started out doing events, was box office management, season tickets, again, fundraisers, educational workshops. So really a lot of my experience comes from that nonprofit, corporate realm, higher education sort of sector. I always ask people, have I ever done weddings? I have dabbled, not for me, although it's for a lot of people, but there are a lot of emotions in weddings. And what I love about corporate events is I have more budget, less emotion. I can do a little bit more of what I want with them. So that's kind of just a little bit about me and some of my experience. I have a master's of professional communication with an emphasis in digital media. And then I also carry the 2 main designations for the event industry, which is the Certified Meeting Professional, a CMP, and then a Certified Special Event Professional, which is a CSEP. In my classes, I talk about what those acronyms mean and everything. But yes, so that's just a little bit about me.
Man, that is awesome. What a storied career already. And the university's super fortunate to have you.
I had no idea there were certifications for event planning. Did
I
you?
know. I had no idea. Yeah. See, this is why we're interviewing you.
Right.
Now, we have a very important question to start out the interview. With your friends and family's life on the line, you have to sing one karaoke song. What song is it?
Oh my goodness. Oh dear. You know what is so sad is that I have 2 kids right now. Right now, I'll have them for life. I have a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old. So I am sad to say that all of my recently played stuff is Disney, unfortunately. And so we have been listening to a lot of Descendants. And so probably Descendants Rotted to the Core is probably the only one I could probably sing at the moment. Something from a Disney show. That's probably my best bet. Hopefully once they get older, I can go back to actually my music.
If it makes you feel any better, I have a 22-year-old, but I could sing that Rotten to the Core song myself.
Yeah. It's a good one. It's a good one. I love it.
Okay, so can you describe what a typical day in your life is like? What is it like in event management?
Yes. Well, that's really the thing that drew me to event management. What I love about events is that every day is not the same. I'm doing a little bit of everything. I'm usually juggling multiple events at one time as well. So usually it's not even like you have the luxury of you have one event, you complete it, you move on to another. A lot of times I'm juggling kind of everything up in the air. I might might have an event that is happening next week, but at the same time, I'm having meetings that are about an event that is 6 months away. So that's one of the things that I love, is that a typical day, there's not always a typical day. Some days it's a lot of computer work, a lot of sitting around, getting the emails, doing phone calls. Sometimes it's a really heavy meetings day where I'm meeting and doing all of those things. Sometimes I'm running around picking up stuff. It's kind of just different, and that's why I love it so much. I am definitely not one of those that could have done a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday sort of work, but then at the same time, a lot of people probably don't want to do the type of schedule I do. I work evenings, I work weekends, but then I also take a lot of breaks off during the week that when most people are working. So it has a lot of that flexibility. But as far as some of the typical things you do need to do with events that people don't often think about, that they forget, they often see the glamour of event day. They go, oh, well, every day you must be on site. Every day you're setting up. Every day you're going and tasting food or picking up flowers. Nope. I am emailing. I am doing those meetings. I am doing all of the planning, because really in event management, you are essentially that center hub of like a wagon wheel. I always like to think about, the wheel, you have all the spokes and everything. The event manager is that central one that keeps everybody communicating to each other. So it's really essential that I'm getting all the communication out to everybody, that then somebody gives me new information and I need to be sure it gets out to the next person. So there's definitely a lot of organization, taking a look at my calendar, seeing where we are in our project management system, reaching out to see, okay, what deadlines are we behind on? What can we catch up on? Different things like that. So definitely, while everybody likes to think about the glamorous stuff, you are doing a lot of things on the computer and a lot of that organization stuff matched up with the creativity.
Makes a lot of sense. I'm sure there's a lot of people skills, negotiation, trying to get, like you said, the center. Well, all those spokes are also trying to move in different directions, I can imagine, or have different agendas or different things. So I'm sure there's a lot of people skills in there as well.
Oh, definitely. And especially in events, you're communicating to all levels. I may be having a meeting with the president of the university or with a major donor who's helping to fund an event or is coming in as a sponsor or something. So I'm working with very high level people. I also might be working with talent. And so that might be communicating directly with major talent that's coming in. So maybe a major singer, a major speaker, but also too, I'm communicating with their agent, who often cares about the money. So then I'm talking a lot of logistics. So I'm talking to one person from the same team that's about the production element, while I'm talking business with the other person who's more about the office work. Then at the same time, I need to turn around and talk with the setup crew as well, the custodians, if I need things. And so I need to be able to communicate to various levels, both people who are working under me that need to do things, people who are on the peer level, people who are above. And the thing is, if you're going to get anything done, you need to be talking to all of them with the same sort of respect, the same sort of enthusiasm that you would. So how I would talk to the president is also the same way I'm going to talk to my custodial crew or the crew that's setting up the tables. Because the fact is that if my trashes don't get picked up, if my tables get set up wrong, the event will not be working and the president is going to be mad at me. So I better be keeping everybody who's doing all of the groundwork, who has been there for hours and hours, just as happy as my client or the president.
Makes perfect sense. Yeah, totally. So I'm sure in your career, you've had some of those, alert fires, big problems pop up. Can you tell us about a crisis or a challenge that you've experienced in your career and what the outcome of that was?
Oh, yes. It's Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. I have dealt with allergy situations, needing to do EpiPens, bringing in EMTs. I have had an attendee's hair catch on fire one time before as well. Probably, though, one of the biggest ones that I did have to work with was an event here at UVU. I won't share too many specific details about what the event was, but we did have a major speaker who was coming on campus to speak, and there was a threat made that was deemed a credible threat. Didn't come through until the night before, and they didn't actually receive and find out about the threat until the morning of our event. So I pretty much arrived to campus thinking things were going to move as usual. I had my game plan for the day. I had a production schedule. I had everything lined up with exactly what all we were going to do. Got on campus and I immediately got pulled into an emergency meeting that had the president, that had our chief of police, that had various people. And because of this threat, and the speaker said, we need some additional security, put in place. Otherwise, we don't feel comfortable being here to speak. So we last minute had to get a bunch of the magnetrons, the like metal detectors and everything from the Orem police. We had to bring in a bunch of last minute like wands and stuff like that so that we could be checking all of the audience members, other participants. We ended up needing to bring in bomb sniffing dogs too into a sector of the venue, which then threw off everything. It threw off every plan. All of our rehearsals that we had planned for people suddenly went out the window. All of our arrivals that now suddenly all of our people participating in the event, even our crews, like even musicians, different things like that, where they just would have shown up as usual. Now suddenly we had to take them through a specific entrance. They had to go through security as well. It threw the entire game plan out the window. So we pretty much were still needing to do all of the stuff we had to do originally, changing up, calling people, getting them informed. Everything turned out great. We never had any incidents there, but it also changed the way that we approach things. We had a meeting after the event and said, hey, there probably are some things that we need to do. We ended up buying more of those types of things. We had to go beg, borrow, and steal. We bought more for the university so we would have those on hand, so we're not needing to call somebody if we ever needed to have more metal detectors or something. So you always learn from everything. That's the whole point, is that if something goes wrong, you don't just throw up your hands and be like, okay, well that was terrible. All right, what can we do? Just, bang your head up against the wall. It's like, okay, hey, we solve it here, but we always do a meeting to figure out, okay, what can we do next time so that then if this situation occurred again, it won't be quite as bad and it won't put us in such a bind.
So what I hear is you've got to be adaptable.
Oh, very much. I always like to say that perfectionism really can't exist in the event industry. And funny enough, I feel like the event industry does tend to bring in perfectionists, and it doesn't work very well. I fully admit I am a recovering perfectionist. I feel I do that. I am in remission. I sometimes, fall into old habits, but it's like, nothing ever goes perfectly as planned. And so you need to be able to adapt with that and not to kick yourself, because every single event, I've never had a perfect event. It doesn't exist. The person who tells me that they've had a perfect event, no, they're lying. Things went wrong. But the fact is, did the audience or attendees notice? Did your main client notice? Hey, the goal is that things can go off to the point that people go, oh, that was awesome. And you go, yeah, it was. You didn't see backstage what I was dealing with earlier, but yeah, it was fantastic today. Nothing ever goes perfect, but you have to celebrate the successes, and then you just need to learn from the mistakes and move on.
Makes sense.
Got it. So I need to know this one, though. Who is the most famous person you've ever interacted with in event management? Or if you could choose a celebrity to cater an event for, who would it be?
Oh, that one is very tough. I have had that opportunity to meet a variety of different people here in my position. I've met sports athletes. I've met a lot of government officials, a lot of religious leaders, a lot of singers who have come in. As for even just the most famous, I don't necessarily know that I could even think about what the most famous is, but actually if I could turn the question a little bit and actually say my favorite famous person. Sure. Because some people can be difficult to work with. Let's be honest. It's like some people come in with big egos. They come in with what we call production writers in the industry, which means that they have a lot of things. There's kind of always the story about the band who requests all green M&Ms or no brown M&Ms. So some people can be a little tough to work with. But this person I've had the chance to work with multiple times here at UVU. He's a big supporter. That's Jason Alexander. Now, a lot of people don't necessarily know Jason Alexander as much anymore and everything. He came from Seinfeld, a lot of different movies, but what a lot of people don't know is that he started out as a Broadway star, and I also have a soft spot for that. I'm a bit of a drama nerd. I came from the performing arts industry kind of at the beginning, but he is amazing to work with. He comes in, he has a production writer, he has specific things that he needs, but he's come in multiple times and he's always looking at how can I work with the students? How can I give back to my community? And so there's times where we might ask him hey, I know that it would take another 15 minutes, but we still have a few more people who want to meet with you. Would you mind staying another 15 minutes? Some celebrities will be like, nope. my time ended, and even if there's one more person in line, I am not going to meet that one other person because my time is up. He has been willing to stay later to be able to work with us. And again, talking about how you treat the lowly people who have been there at all hours. When he walks by and he leaves, he is sure to thank every single person that he sees that he knows has been there for hours, and not just schmooze with the VIPs and all of the big buck donors. And that, I think, is the show of a really great celebrity. And again, I know the second part of your question is like, who else would you want to be with? I mean, if I could, and again, now that I've been in the industry, I base it off of reputation, because again, I've heard the celebrities that are good to work with, celebrities that are bad. I've actually heard that some of the best two celebrities, and I love who they are anyway as actors, is Tom Hanks and Paul Rudd. I've heard that they are amazing to work with, and again, very kind, very thanking to people, and very easy to work with people who have brought them in. So again, I think as I've been in the industry, it's changed because I want to work with people that I know are going to be easy to work with and appreciative to work with.
That makes perfect sense. I love that. I love that answer. I'd love to meet Tom Hanks and Paul Rudd.
Tom Hanks for sure.
Yeah, no, Paul Rudd's hilarious. I love his movies. Yeah, he's awesome. So, Jessica, what trends and developments in event management excite you the most? And what skills do you think students need to build to stay relevant and successful in that evolving landscape, particularly, especially with the tech evolutions and innovations that are coming up? Yeah, what's your take on that?
Obviously, AI. The rise of AI is huge, even in the event industry. It's really big. And of course, every single industry always questions, is AI going to replace me? Is AI going to replace me? Fact is, no, it's not going to replace you. But if you can't utilize it, you are going to be left behind. And we have really been seeing a huge rise in AI and even just a lot of logistical tools. Like even I just recently had went to a conference and I went to several AI sessions because it was a really big hot topic. Even just talking about a lot of things that could logistically help you. Time management tools, calendar tools, ways that you could also do customer service, like on your website, setting up the auto bots that, hey, instead of needing to answer the same question over and over again, program your AI so when you have attendees go to your event website, the AI bot can answer a majority of the customer service. It takes it off of your plate. So again, you need to be able to know, how do you manage things like that? But even though you could use AI for a lot of other things, like even say writing marketing copy or different things like that. Yeah, sure, you could use the AI tool for that, but only if you put good content in to begin with. Only if you have a good idea about what is your event like. You need to know what are your event goals, who's your audience, and you need to be able to program that key stuff into the AI if you're going to let it output anything that's actually usable. Additionally, always edit what comes out of AI, because it is never, like, maybe down the line it will, but it still sounds like a computer, and people know that. And so being able to be someone who can learn to utilize it, but not rely on it 100% to replace their own skills. You need to still work on your writing skills. You do still need to know how to write promotional content that's going to motivate somebody to come to your event. Script writing, hey, again, it could be fantastic to help you with script writing if you want no heart in it. But you need to add some heart. You need to add some personal stuff. So again, it's important to know and utilize that technology. You still have to fine tune all of your skills. You've got to be, if you want to go into events, you need to be an excellent writer. You need to be an excellent speaker. You need to be able to be creative and think outside the box. It's true that you could plug into AI, hey, give me a cool theme for XYZ, but the fact is that it's still only pulling content from what already exists out there. And part of events is that we are the people who are the groundbreakers. Everybody is always asking for something new. They always say, every event I do an event, and one of the first things people say to me is, oh, that was awesome. That was so amazing. How are you going to outdo that next year? So I always have to outdo it. I need to think about more creative ideas. So you need to be that creative person. You need to think outside the box and think about the things that nobody else has come up with yet, because that stuff won't be out there in the AI. You need to come up with your own things. So really honing in that creativity, putting yourself out out there and just like throwing out a crazy idea that then could be workshopped with a committee of people to come up with a really awesome idea for an event is going to be much better than just pulling from things that already exist out there. So with what I would suggest with somebody that's looking at that technology is, learn that technology, but you still got to hone your own skills because it's not going to replace it. Otherwise, again, it's going to be somebody who does have those skills, knows how to use AI. They're going to get the job over you.
So it's now time for a shameless plug.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah. So our 3890 class, we about 50-60% of our assignments are AI driven.
Right.
So
with that caveat that you just mentioned, we don't take exactly that output. We
Nope.
take that output, we tweak it and fine tune it, and then beautiful. Saves time, but also you need to have that refinement of whatever it puts out. So 3890.
Yep.
Take it.
And 3890 is also the one that I teach out of marketing. So, hey.
So thinking back just a few years ago when you started your career,
Yes, it was just a few years ago.
what advice would you give yourself about networking?
You know what's actually funny is that not to say that I could have still done things better or anything, but actually the thing that I go back and tell myself is make sure you did the things you did. Do them again, actually, because I do think that the networking element, one of the things that I was able to get pretty early on, and I think that's what got me to where I am. I always tell people that number one, internships. I tell that to every student that comes through. I also actually manage all of the internships for hospitality management and event management. So I am a huge advocate for internships. That is what is going to get you out there doing what it is that you're wanting to do and figuring out what you like and you don't like. But that is going to build your network. You need to make those relationships. And that is by far what I did. I always account my very first job that I got out of college 100% came from my internship. And it wasn't that I got hired on with my internship. It was the connections that I made there. It was with a performing arts company. Even though I was with the one performing arts company, we always went to these regular meetings that were monthly that had several other marketing and public relations people from the various performing arts industries and companies. I got to network with all of them. And then near the end of my senior year, at the end of this internship, I heard that one of those people was moving to Ohio and he was telling the others about how he had the job posting and he was going to be forwarding it out. I was just an intern sitting in the corner taking my notes that I was like, oh, wait a minute, like I would love his job. And I went ahead and I talked to my internship supervisor. I said, hey, I know you guys don't have a position for me. I noticed that Jeremy had mentioned that he was going to be moving. Would you be willing to do like a letter of recommendation if I were to apply for that? She did me one better. His office for this other company was in the same building as the company I was with. She actually walked me over there and introduced me to the whole team at that company. So now I not only knew Jeremy from sitting in on all these meetings, suddenly now I got to meet the managing director. I met the founder. I met the development director. I met the artistic director. They were all just there having lunch and she just walked me in and was like, hey, this is my intern. She's been helping me. She's been great. She knows a lot. She already knows this building too for hosting events here. So I met them, sent them my resume, officially did the application. I was hired and had the job waiting for me when I graduated. They were willing to actually wait for me to finish graduating for me to start. So they waited about a month for me to officially get started so I could finish graduating. So things like that, it comes from the networking. And
chills.
so,
I have chills. I'm such a
me too.
nerd. I literally have chills.
It's amazing.
Because it's just so life altering. Like it completely changes the trajectory of your career by having a connection and a foothold like that right out of college. I'm going to create a sizzle reel of all of our interviews of these stories and be like, check this out, because it's so impactful. And coming from us, you hear it from us all the time, network, but really like you're such another great example of this. And thank you for that answer. I mean, it's
Spot on.
Yes, it is.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
yes, thank you.
And lastly, if students want to connect with you, can they connect on LinkedIn?
Oh, yes, please. Connect with me, LinkedIn. You can email me, just jessica.ballard@uvu.edu. I'm happy to talk. I have a lot of students who reach out just even asking about job opportunities. What could the internships look like or anything like that? So I always tell people my door is open. Come and talk. I can connect you with people, anything like that.
So if event management is in your future, go visit Jessica.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.